Polygon, an Ethereum scaling platform that, well, if you're in this world, you certainly know of and you've heard of. It's live with its zero-knowledge Ethereum virtual machine beta. The release of Polygon's ZkEVM, as it's known as an acronym, comes just days after competitor Matter Labs released its own ZkEVM, a ZK Sync era. And joining us now to discuss that is Polygon's co-founder, Sandeep Nailwal, who's joined us at very short notice. So Sandeep, thanks so much for doing that. Firstly, really appreciate you getting out of the call that you were in and coming on. Welcome once again to CoinDesk First Mover.
Thank you. Thanks, Amitabh, for having me here.
So, as part of the ceremony of the announcement, Vitalik Buterin was granted the privilege of initiating the first transaction on the new ZkEVM. We know about that. The ZkEVM was released with a high-priced bug bounty. What made you want to release it with that?
Yeah, so I mean, all of these technologies, even though the mainnet from our side has been, kind of internally ready for last 2-3 months, we had been doing a lot of internal testing compared to a lot of other players who don't even have the first version ready, and and some of the mainnet go live seems a bit rushed. But in our case, like, we have been ready for like at least 2 to 3 months. We did multiple audits. 2 audits have been done by reputed players in the space. And our source code has been publicly live for like around 6 to 7 months. So, and after a lot of internal rigorous testing, we decided that, now it's the time for it to go into the beta phase and get tested by public, because most of this technology, you can keep developing it for years and years. And, actually when it goes out in the wild, then only you find out the exact thing. So as of now, the ZkEVM has been fairly stable. The user experience seems to be good. Everybody is appreciating it. So I think it was well timed in that sense, and it's fairly ready for, I would say, for the prime time.
So for a lot of people at home who don't understand what we call in the US ZkEVM, how would you describe it? We've talked about it here a few times, but just for people who are new to this and are trying to figure out what exactly does it mean? You have a lot of people at home who are just looking at price go up, so they want to know what exactly is this all about and why does it matter to them?
Yeah, so basically, if you the ZkEVM actually has been has been touted as the holy grail of scaling of blockchains, because essentially with zero knowledge technology, in a very simple way, what you can do is you can do large amount of computations on layer 2 chains and still be able to verify them. That means verify them and prove to Ethereum main chain, which is very decentralized and has stood the test of time. You can prove back to Ethereum that everything was computed correctly in a very, very small footprint. So for example, I computed, let's say, 10,000 units of business logic, like, apps. That means the logic of the apps on this layer 2. And then you are able to confirm and prove everything was done correctly on Ethereum by just doing a small Ethereum transaction. That is the power. So imagine now what you can do. You can have thousands and thousands or hundreds of thousands of apps running on these layer 2 chains, right? And yet, even though they are running on these layer 2 chains, yet via Ethereum that everything is being computed correctly. There's no fraud is being committed, no kind of centralized acts which actually plagued our industry in the last year. Everybody knows what kind of things happened. Nobody is doing any kind of fishy business, and if anybody tries to do anything, the final security is still with Ethereum. So users' funds are secured from Ethereum. That's why it's called holy grail of scaling.
And explain how Polygon, if you can, just how Polygon fits into this.
Yes. So Polygon has created this ZkEVM, and this ZkEVM right now, all these layer 2s are run with single sequencer. Like, you have one single sequencer chain running it. But eventually, you also need to decentralize it to a fair bit. Not like Ethereum decentralized, like, tens of thousands of validators, but probably 50 to 100 validators you would want to decentralize this ZkEVM. So that decentralization will be executed by Polygon validators who would be staking Matic tokens and then earning the right to run the ZkEVM while earning the transaction fees. Even though the transaction fees is very low, but you are assuming that the volume will be 1000x. So you will be able to earn decent transaction fees. That's the value model for any kind of staking token. If you see, it basically gives you the right to compute and earn transaction fees. So you work and get the transaction fees back.
All right, Sandeep, the other thing, if I just could zoom out right now, is that Polygon is playing an important role in the entire in the Web3 space, let's put it that way. And I don't want to get into gaming just yet, but first, you're actually reaching out to, the traditional big companies, the Starbucks, the Salesforce, other companies that you're partnered with. That's a lot of partnering that you're doing, and they are giving you the thumbs up at a time when there's a lot of fear about regulation in the US at least. What is your goal? Because it seems like you're trying to head towards mainstream adoption, and I see Lawrence lifting his Starbucks cup. You're lucky about that. Like, how aggressive are you in your head? What are you thinking? Are we going to just enter into their space and we're just going to be there and then they can't do anything about us? What's the goal?
Yeah. So, see, the mission for Polygon has always been the mass adoption of Web3, right? And that mass adoption is not going to happen in our belief. Like, obviously there is a small possibility that some Web3 niche applications blow up, in the mainstream, but we haven't seen that in the last 10 years. And, I've been in the space for like 6-7 years now. And there has always been this, urge between people who are actually building in the Web3 space that there is no large scale adoption for Web3 as of yet, right? And NFTs essentially in the last 1.5 to 2 years showed that how you can make this complicated technology available to average person where they can, relate to it. And, there was a lot of these speculative NFT, markets, and that market is very vibrant, and, those communities are very engaged. But, brands and these big institutions are also seeing NFTs as a way to interact and engage with their customers. And that's what you see right now is happening. If you see, for example, the Reddit itself has around 12 to 13 million NFTs, which their users have created as a part of their, avatars in their groups. Now they are looking to, allow people probably in future, like, we have heard that, there is like, they are trying to come up with a marketplace and things like that. So these can become like proper, in future, proper marketplaces for creators and artists to come and express themselves and interact with their customers directly, right? So that's one part. Similarly, like Starbucks, you see, essentially it's an extension of their loyalty program, and Starbucks has always been like always on the bleeding edge of technology as a brand also. And sorry. Yes,
phone's off the hook. A lot of excited partners. That's another partnership calling, of course.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, the main part is that with this, like Starbucks application itself, they have 25 million users. So imagine if they are now able to weave these small, they're even trying to do these small communities. Let's say a particular Starbucks somewhere in Santa Monica in LA, and they can have these community events which are token gated, whoever owns this Starbucks. So these kind of things people are looking, which actually will show people what the benefit of these actual Web3 self-owned and totally custodied kind of assets, which you can actually own them as collectibles, digital collectibles, basically. So that's why, like, the mission has been always to go mainstream. And it's not only about US. We believe that whether it's US, it's Europe, it's India, it's China, if there are large scale usage of these apps and people see that there is actual value being created with the Web3 applications, the regulators will come along and they will see that this as a legitimate industry. Right now, all they see is exchanges, tokens going up, down, people launching these, tokens and whatnot, and that's not the right use case for them to see. So that's why, you must have seen, not only on this side, actually, if you see that there's this brands and, Web3, things like, Reddit and even Instagram they have shut down that program. But people are experimenting these things while somebody's trying to figure out. There's also about gaming. Gaming can take it really, really mainstream because game assets have grown in their value for long, for this thing. But also, if you see on the institution side, like you see Siemens launching their, they issued $60 million of their debt bonds, right, on Polygon. Similarly, Hamilton Lane securitizing some of their assets, and there are largest of the largest institutions right now they are trying to also do. That can also bring you into the mainstream finance. Even in finance, Web3 is niche. So yeah.
Okay. Sandeep, thanks so much for that. Yeah, we were going to ask you about it, but you kind of referred to it right now. The Polygon team has also promised to add up to 100 million gamers in the next 2 years. So that's aligning with what you were just saying. We appreciate that. Thanks so much for joining us once again at very, very short notice. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much for that, Sandeep.
Thank you. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Muthush. Thank you.
Thank you.